writer, blogger, storyteller, and she has been here a couple of times before, so we're really excited to have her on stage with us tonight. Please give it up for Ellie Herdman.
It's December 2007, and I'm finishing up my first ever semester at engineering school in a small, tiny town in the middle of nowhere, Missouri. I had one more test to take before the holiday break, and I was so excited to go home for Christmas and the holidays and for 3 weeks. Now, most people, holidays come around, they go to Christmas markets, they celebrate with their family, you might go to some religious ceremonies. I don't really know what all happens at Christmas time for normal people, because this is not one of those stories. And I was thinking about it today. I don't know that I've ever had a normal Christmas, so in case you're wondering, this is not that kind of a story. But I was excited to go home for the break. I knew that it was going to be dysfunctional. I knew that there was going to be bickering and fighting amongst multiple generations. There was going to be food, maybe. It's usually questionable at the retirement center where my grandma lived. Sometimes it was food, sometimes it wasn't. But most of all, I was excited for my bedroom. I was going to isolate myself into my bedroom and hole away for 3 weeks and sleep. This is what I was the most excited for. So the reason why I was so excited to isolate myself is I was at war with my roommate. I don't know if anybody has had this experience where you get put with a random roommate in college, and sometimes things go really well and you're best friends for life, and sometimes you're at war. I should have known the first red flag when, you know, you have that phone call before you move in and you're like, what are you bringing to college? She did not want to have that conversation. Red flag number one. At this point, she had made this rule that I was not allowed to undress in our bedroom. That is correct. No nakedness in the bedroom at all. So after a cold front had moved through, I took a hot shower and I was in the room, you know, you stay kind of wet after a shower, and so I was drying the rest of the way off, and the fire alarms go off. The resident assistant comes and yanks us out of the room. I can't grab a coat, I can't grab my car keys. I am in the world's shortest shorts, a spaghetti strap tank top, and my flip-flops from the shower because I hadn't changed my shoes yet. So we all get corralled down into the parking lot, and because it was an actual fire, somebody had lit the trash chute on fire again. We weren't allowed back in the building until we got the all clear. I think I made it maybe 5 minutes, that's being generous, before I was shivering and I was cold and I was angry and I could not take it anymore. So what I did is I walked to the sidewalk and I peered around this 10-story dormitory building, and I saw the house that sits in the lot next to the dormitory, and the lights were on, and I grabbed the girl that lived down the hall and I said, if anybody asks, I'm gonna go see if they'll let me in the house, because I'm not gonna make it any longer out here. And she's like, I'm coming with you. So we trudge our way over to this house. Now, the people that lived in this house were part of a race car team, and the first thing I did when I went to college was I joined the race car team. It's a story for a different time. It's a very complicated situation, but I had been going to the race car shop, so I kind of sort of knew some of the guys, and I knew that a bunch of them lived there. I didn't know exactly which ones lived there, but I knew that there was a chance they would let me in the house. So we meander up the steps, and it's a big party house, so there's no more wooden door. It's been knocked in too many times. It's a glass door with like a whole logo on the side of the house. I knock on it loud until somebody finally comes to the door, and they're like, hey, I recognize you. And I'm like, I recognize you. I have no idea if you live here or not. But I was like, I'm freezing cold. Can I come inside? So they let us in, and we get about to the living room, and this boy that I know more than the others, his name's Aaron, he looks at me, and because he had been a resident assistant like the years prior, he looks at me and he goes, an actual fire this time? Like he knew what was happening. And I was like, yeah, and he's like, it's gonna be a while. So he grabs me some sweats and a sweatshirt and socks and gets us some blankets, and we sit and we play Guitar Hero with him for hours until we just sneak back into the dorms way after the all clear. And then as the semester progressed, things got even worse with my roommate. We lived on the 9th story of this dormitory, and despite the rules, she would leave the window open every single night. And it gets cold in Missouri, as you guys know. It's about the same as here. And I got this respiratory infection. I couldn't sleep anymore. I was miserable. And finally, one night I was fed up. I walked over to the house and I knocked on the door, and Aaron opens the door and he says, "Have you just not been sleeping?" And I'm like, "Yeah, pretty much." And he's like, "Okay, well," he's like, "I can't do much to help you, but I can offer you a space heater and a sleeping bag on the floor." So while they would go out partying on the weekends, I would lay on the floor with the space heater, and I was like, I just have to make it to Christmas, right? Just have to make it to Christmas, then I can sleep, come back from the semester, and I'll find a new roommate. And because it was an